Hey guys, today we've got another really fun build for you. This one is coming from our viewer Fledgling, who has brought us yet again another great build. Super excited for this one. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel a ton. Now this build is one of the first Tempest Cleric builds I've seen that is really amazing and I've been really impressed by. And I think one thing that it does really well and why I like it so much is because it is a mono class build. It's not a multi-class build, it is just Tempest Cleric, and it does Tempest Cleric so different and so good that I just really love this build. So without further ado, this is the Storm Kobold's Thunder. Get it? It's like Storm King's Thunder, but with the Kobold. I think it's pretty funny. All right, on with the build. So the first thing to call out with this build is its leveling. This is a mono class build, so meaning it's all levels in Tempest Domain Cleric. So I like it because it's pretty straightforward. It's really easy for new players where you don't have to worry about multi-classing. You don't have to worry about having specific stats to multi-class. It is just pretty straightforward cleric. But I love it because it's not only simple, it is also great. It has a lot of cool mechanics that you can use to be simple yet very effective in doing a cleric. And what I really like about it is I think most Tempest clerics play a very aggressive, very damage-oriented playstyle with their Destructive Wrath being able to maximize lightning damage. This one I like because we can have that same playstyle as every other Tempest Cleric, but we can also kind of have this sub-tank playstyle that really shines in this build. Breaking news, this just in. This man, Sage from D&D Daily, has just released a packet for 13 subclasses, one subclass for each of the classes of D&D 5e. This packet, called the Hidden Collection of Combat Styles, features a new take on every class in its subclass, giving it a new style. And what's this? I'm hearing that this packet is available right now on the D&D Daily Patreon for $15, or each subclass is available for $3 each if you just want your favorite one. So make sure to check out the link down below to get your own packet in the Hidden Collection of Combat Styles. And with that, back to your regularly scheduled program. So as for the lineage on this build, we are going to be a Kobold, like you might have guessed from the title of this video, and Kobold does a ton for us. The first thing it lets us do is pick up a Sorcerer cantrip, and we are going to pick up Booming Blade. Now Booming Blade is great for one, letting us get increased damage on our one single attack because clerics don't get multi-attack, and it also scales with the extra damage we get at level 8, so it's really good for that just one attack a turn. Second is we're going to be a frontline build and kind of a semi-tank, which Booming Blade incentivizes enemies to stay close to us, which again emphasizes this tanky kind of playstyle, and Booming Blade just great for the thunder flavor of the Tempest Cleric. The second big thing that Kobold is giving us is Draconic Cry. Now Draconic Cry isn't a tanking feature, but it is a support feature, which is what clerics love to do. We're going to be in the front line anyways, and Draconic Cry helps us be a support for our enemies in the front line, giving our allies advantage on attacks against certain enemies. As for our stats, we are going to be primary in Wisdom like most clerics. Unlike some clerics, we want this stat to be odd, as we are going to try and pick up a half feat later for our Wisdom. After Wisdom is Strength and Constitution. Both of these we want to be as high as they can, but not as important as Wisdom. We do want Strength and kind of need Strength to be at least a 15 so it works for our heavy armor. That's about the only restriction there, but we want those as high as we can get them. Now the first big note on this build is we're wanting to pick up the Giant Foundling background. This is one of the backgrounds from Bigby Presents Glory of the Giants, and it gives us a starting feat as a part of this background. Now some DMs aren't going to allow this. If they don't, we can still do this build, it just slows it down a little bit. But by taking the Giant Foundling background, it allows us to pick up the Strike of the Giants feat at level 1, and we are going to pick up the Storm variant. Now this Strike of the Giants Storm variant isn't just very flavorful, it also gives us extra lightning damage a couple times a day on our attacks, and if an enemy fails a saving throw, it gives them disadvantage on their attacks against everyone. This feature is great on this build for a lot of reasons. First, it gives us lightning damage, which is great for just extra damage, but it also lets us proc our 6th level pushback feature once we get that. Secondly, the disadvantage on attacks is great for our semi-tanking playstyle, so it's just going to help add to that playstyle a little bit. Now as we start this build, at level 1 we are going to use heavy armor and a shield, trying to just be as tanky as possible, getting that highest AC that we can. And then for our weapon, we're going to use any one-handed weapon that's just going to get us good damage, probably longsword. Really, we just want something that we can use for Booming Blade while still keeping our AC very high. As for our first level spells, because we have Booming Blade, Strike the Giants, Draconic Cry, We have a lot of standard offense that just does good, solid, consistent damage, so I think I'm going to lean away from the cleric damaging spells like Inflict Wounds and Guiding Bolt, and lean more towards supporting spells. But honestly, any of the cleric spells that are usually good are still good here. At first level, we also pick up Wrath of the Storm, which is great for a way to increase our damage output, and when we're trying to play this kind of semi-tank style, this becomes better and better because enemies are going to be incentivized to attack us, so it gives us a way to proc this more often and make sure we're getting that extra damage output onto our enemies. At level 2, we pick up Destructive Wrath, which is everybody's favorite Tempest Domain feature, and it just allows us to maximize lightning and thunder damage. At this level, it's not great. We can maximize our thunder wave damage, but it's just decent right now, and it definitely picks up once we start getting those higher level lightning and thunder spells, which for example comes in at level 3. As we pick up second level spells, one of our Tempest Domain class spells is Shatter. Now Shatter is just good damage, and it's even better damage once we get Destructive Wrath. Other second level spells that stand out to me are Hold Person and Spiritual Weapon, just the standard good cleric ones. Hold Person stands out a little bit more to me because we have those extra damage on a single attack, meaning our crits do even better. At level 4, we pick up our first ASI. Now, if we weren't able to take the Strike of Giants background and feat at level 1, we're going to want to take that here. If we did get that at level 1, we are going to pick up the feat Soul of the Storm Giant. Now, this feat does a ton of stuff for us. First off, it's a half feat, allowing us to round out our wisdom. Secondly, it gives us the Maelstrom Aura, which also does a lot of different things. The Maelstrom Aura gives us resistance to lightning and thunder, which, while pretty niche in usefulness, it is very flavorful for this combination, and I really like it that way. Second is that when we activate this aura as a bonus action, until the start of our next turn, every attack against us has disadvantage. This is great because, again, it helps in this semi-tank playstyle. It really helps us solidify this. And when we mix it with Booming Blade and try and keep those enemies close to us, it really incentivizes enemies to not move away and attack us, but now they have disadvantage. And because of our already high AC from heavy armor and a shield, we're going to be pretty difficult to hit with that disadvantage, making us pretty good at AC tanking. The third thing that this Maelstrom Aura does is it gives us an aura 10 feet around us. When an enemy starts its turn within 10 feet of us, they make a strength save. And if they fail this save, their speed is halved until the start of their next turn. Now this is even great because now if they do decide to move away from us from Booming Blade, they proc the Booming Blade damage and then they can only move 15 feet away from us. So it's much easier for our allies to position around us so that our enemies can't run away from us and go attack them. It kind of pins our enemies in that if they want to attack somebody, it's gotta be us. And it's a really fun dynamic for the team. I think that this really excels with a hit and run build, which if you saw our last video, the Wild Pirate, there's a great hit and run build, great combo. These two together would be absolutely broken. Now at level 5, we pick up everybody's favorite cleric spell, Spirit Guardians. Spirit Guardians on this build is amazing, and that is because it doubles down on what we're already doing. Spirit Guardians combos really well with what we're already doing because it halves enemies' movement speed while they're within 15 feet of us. And if you top that with the half reduction in movement speed from the Maelstrom Aura of Soul of the Storm Giant, enemies can't even move 10 feet away from us. And on top of Booming Blade, if they move that 10 feet, they get damaged for it. So we really pin enemies right next to us. And they have disadvantage on attacks, and if they can't leave, they take the Spirit Guardians damage the next turn. So overall, really good combo for just pinning enemies to us. And if they stay there and decide to hit us, we can even use Wrath of the Storm and just get some extra damage on them using our reaction. Or if they decide to leave, we get an opportunity attack. It's really a lose-lose situation for our enemies, and we just sit there as a tank. Now this strategy picks up another notch once we hit 6th level and we pick up Thunderous Strike. Now anytime we deal lightning damage to an enemy, we can also push them 10 feet away. Now, most of this build we do is to keep people close to us, so pushing enemies away might not be the best thing at first glance, however, it is really good in niche circumstances. The first one I see is if we have our strategy going, we pin an enemy close to us, they're within 5 feet of us, and they go to wail on us. We got the big bad right there, and they're gonna go use their multi-attack. They hit us with the first one, we use our reaction, blast them 10 feet away and deal some lightning damage, and now they're stuck 15 feet away from us. They can't even move 10 feet in towards us, they're just stuck there, still taking Spirit Guardians damage, they still take Booming Blade damage if they move. It makes their situation way worse, and they can't even finish their multi-attack unless they have a ranged option. Now those are the basics of this build. It really is that solid core, and I really like that it plays as a tank as opposed to a mega damage dealer, which is where most Tempest Clerics are. However, there's a couple things we can do to make this build that one step up. As we hit level 8, we get our second ASI. I'm thinking either Resilient Constitution if our Constitution score is odd to round that out and give us proficiency in Constitution saves, or we can go something like Warcaster. Both of these options make our concentration checks way better, which helps us out a lot, especially when we're really relying on something like Spirit Guardians. Or you can take something like Metamagic Adept. Looking at Metamagic Adept, you can take Transmute Spell, which is a really common theme among these Tempest Domain Clerics, which lets you change the damage type of your spells to Lightning or Thunder to maximize that damage, and get pushback effects, which is really neat. Or you can take something like Quicken Spell, which really maximizes your offense by allowing you to cast a spell and then action Booming Blade or action Dash to get in position. It really maximizes that offensive potential. Overall, this is a really fun build. I really love how it takes this Tempest Cleric and uses it as a tank. I've never seen that one before, but I really like how it all pulls together, and I really like this idea of a Kobold serving under a blue dragon or maybe even a sapphire dragon for that thunder damage, and they kind of embody their personality of trying to emulate them through this Tempest Cleric, through all of the spells and stuff they take, and just trying to be kind of this wall protecting their dragon or protecting whoever's around them. I think it's really cool. I think it's almost a very paladin flavor for this cleric, and I'm all about that. Again, big shout out to Fledgling for helping out with this build. Let us know what you think of this build in the comments, and with that, we'll see you on the next one.